Have you ever seen an athlete so disinterested in his sport, his facial expression turns to mildly constipated every time he has to talk about it?
Yeah, just struggled with DEG today.
Because of the hot conditions.
Yeah,
What is not clicking for you behind the wheel at the moment?
I don't know. It was as expected. Yeah, not competitive.
Did you feel like you could kind of go racing a little bit today? Because it looked like that from the outside at least.
No. We were just pretty slow.
And how does this change your mindset for the weekend? Is it now a test session? Are you going to go for it in the sprint?
Keep driving.
Thank you.
I mean, in a sport where spots are so scarce, most drivers would give their left nut to be doing what he's doing. The guy radiates less passion than a cardboard cutout of Kimi Räikkönen. It reminds me of the tall Slovak dude, or Serbian dude in the NBA, who couldn't give less of a f*** about the fame and just couldn't wait to leave the States the first chance he gets. But at least that guy's good, like no questions asked. Stroll can be better characterized as a very expensive seat warmer than an F1 driver at this point. And let's be honest, F1 isn't the place you coast. This isn't Sunday go-karting with the lads in slow. This is a high-stakes, cutthroat sport where people literally sell their souls for a sniff of that reserve driver seat. Especially if Lando's been sitting in it. Ugh, God, I'd pay money for that. And the ones that don't get in, they either get caught up in junior leagues trying to make it as a racing influencer, or get retired to Formula E. But here's the real kicker. No one says a word about it. Cricket. Fucking cricket. The entire motorsport world is walking on eggshells pretending the guy's not made of just porcelain and privilege. Meanwhile, the actual talent is getting shafted faster than an RB driver getting that Red Bull promotion. I mean, if we look back not that long ago when Kimi Räikkönen so much so as shrugged the wrong way in a press conference, the media had him packing his bags for retirement.
And you're still passionate about racing. The fire is still.
No,
very
I
much
don't.
there.
I'm not actually. I'm just by head games for you guys. I happen to sign, and I'm gonna spend 2 years there. Just not be happy, but yeah.
Well, Kimi, thanks for the insight. Let's
No worries.
move on.
While Lance, he honestly could fall asleep in the cockpit mid-race and we'd still get some voices in the sport saying, he's fine. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances, you know? He just needs time.
I was critical of Lance at the very beginning. But I think Lance Stroll has done more than enough to be where he is. Do I think he's the caliber of Alonso? Possibly not now, but he may be shortly.
I'm dying.
And this isn't just harmless mediocrity at this point. Honest to God, this is full-on theft. Armed robbery. Man should be charged with a felony the way he's stealing opportunity from upcoming junior drivers. Like, seriously. While dozens of drivers with actual grit rot on the sidelines or fight tooth and nail for some half-assed FP1 session, Lance is here occupying a prime seat with the enthusiasm of a teenager being forced to read aloud in English class. You could show a highlight reel of his interviews to someone who doesn't follow F1, and they'd think that this was Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, so tired of winning he's about to quit any day now. There's more passion in a weather report, and not the Mexican one. The one covering the Scottish Highlands by a bloke wearing a shirt and jeans saying it's going to be cold and wet, mate. And the thing is, it's not like the fans are loving it either. Lance is widely despised in the F1 community. He's honestly the one thing probably 99.9% of F1 viewers agree on. He's the punchline, the meme, the reminder that money really doesn't always buy happiness, now does it? Honestly, the more I watch F1, the more I agree with his saying. I mean, up until I became a fan, I always used to say, I've never seen someone sad in a Ferrari. Well, there goes that one, mate. So I think this then raises the big question. Why is he still here? Judging by how he's completely lost his interest in the sport, why not just leave? Just fuck off. Join your daddy's company. Or don't. Open a Lance Stroll driving school and just earn from that 8-year career or rather your daddy's managed to scramble together for you in the past decade. There's plenty of other things, I'm sure, if not put a smile on his face, at least would make him seem a little less visually suicidal. Now, I believe in order to nail this down, we need to dig in a slightly different direction initially. To understand why he hasn't left yet, we need to ask some fundamental questions. And in the case of Lance, there's only a couple of those. The first one is, how can he be a billionaire's son and still have the ugliest mug on the grid? But the other is, why do we all absolutely despise his ass? I think by asking this, it will get us a little closer to the truth. Maybe. I mean, fuck do I know? Let's see in about 10 minutes, mate. Fuck. Starting with just the way the kid got to F1. I mean, if I may rely on some online sources for the numbers, and you best believe I don't give enough fucks to double check this. In order to just get Lance to Formula 1, it cost the Strolovich dynasty a whopping $80 million. 80 fucking million. Considering his current annual salary is 3, there is no way in hell the lad's paying that one back. Now, how have your daddy and mummy supported you as a kid? Gave you money to take out your first girlfriend? Helped you out with your college tuition, now have they? Maybe even bought you the new iPhone? Well, next time you see them, tell them they failed as parents because they couldn't afford a small $100 million investment in your Formula 1 career. And next time you feel privileged about them chipping in to buy you that Golf, don't be. Feel poor instead, you bastard. Now, breaking down the absolutely outlandish sum of money, we can see that the actual entry into the Williams cost peanuts. Just $35 million check and the kid was in. The most expensive in the sport's history, they say. Well, I'm sure Miss Williams wasn't complaining. One shitty rookie in and Claire's got a new Birkin to walk around with. 1,000 of them, actually. But what about the rest of the money? I mean, that's not even half of the fucking figure that we mentioned previously. What did he have to spend so much fucking money on in the first place? Well, let's just say his junior career was really well financed. Approximately 10 million for the 3 European karting seasons, 20 million for a high-tech simulator at Williams HQ, and an intensive private testing program on the road using a 2014 hybrid Merc. Fuck. If he got used to that, the Williams he got in 17 must have felt like such a downgrade 3 years later, honestly. All in all, young Lancey was really out there in the elements, with a short-staffed team of 20 fucking people, 5 of which were Mercedes technicians. Oh, and did I mention, his daddy also ended up buying the whole Prima Racing team in F3 for a swift 15 million, just to ensure that Lancey would have a winning outfit to join and win with in the league. That reminds me of something, don't it? Now, while Lawrence ensured Lancey over here would have some championship wins on his belt in F3 by buying the entire leading outfit of the sport, unfortunately, he did not have the funds to just go and outright buy the best team in F1 as well. Thank fuck. Imagine him buying Red Bull in 21, putting his kiddo in instead of Max to ensure that if anyone's winning with RB, it is going to be his offspring, because the Strolovich seed does not produce losers. No, sir!
5 minutes later.
Almost wrong. Need to wave the flag. Oh, the red, white, and blue. Wait. He's not American. I just remembered. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, he's Canadian. I don't know any Canadian songs. You get my point. Fuck. It's a little embarrassing. You know, all of that performance could have been swept under the rug if the boy was actually a highly talented bloke who was just unfortunate enough to miss his window to get into the sport. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. I keep fucking burping. I just want to let you know I'm not dying. At least I don't think so. I just ate a little bit too much fried chicken before, and it's really biting me in the ass now. I'm sorry. No fast food for me anymore. Anything that just doesn't include me trying to spew my guts out during a recording. Oh, God. Well, the truth is, of course he fucking isn't, mate. In fact, he's arguably the least capable driver on the fucking grid.
Around the corner, Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, is pulling. Oh, he's in the gravel.
And that's with 8 years of experience on the F1 grid, mate. Fucking nuns. The kid's been in the sport for the better part of a decade now, and with not much to show for apart from a few podium finishes. And I have to say, the majority of those were just dumb luck. I mean, just look at the final grid in both the Italian and Sakhir GPs in 2020. In one, his teammate at the time, Perez, got his maiden win out of his 190 Grand Prix career starts, with none other than fucking Ocon in second. So, I really wouldn't say there's much to brag about here. I mean, you don't have to look far to have that confirmed. Just look at Silverstone. He was dealt a lucky fucking hand. God knows Alonso wasn't having any of it.
Crazy how you never get it right with me.
A little bit picked on Fernando Alonso.
Running in the podium places at the time, and what do you think happened? He takes a massive L, losing 2 positions in 1 lap's time on like lap 30 or something.
And Lance Stroll's grip on 3rd place has come to an end, and he might be about to lose 4th here. But how long can he keep Hamilton at bay? The longer he does so, the more that will help Nico Hulkenberg. Surely as down the inside goes Lewis Hamilton at Village.
Then he loses a place to Verstappen.
This is how Verstappen got past Stroll, just going a bit wide, losing grip. And Lance Stroll's hold on to P5 comes to an end there.
And then, even on the last fucking lap, he loses out on another fucking spot.
And I mentioned that Pierre Gasly had got Lance Stroll on the final lap. Used DRS, and it was an easy one for Gasly.
The guy's a fucking loser, and there's nothing, Lawrence, you can do about it, mate. No money you have access to can fix this. Not yet, anyways. So not only has he had his hand held throughout his whole junior career by his billionaire daddy, ending up as the most expensive entrant into the F1 league, a cost you and I both know will not fucking pay off, even if he stayed in the sport for 20 years at this point. He's also arguably one of the most useless drivers on the grid. But given this, why shouldn't this Brad just leave the sport for good? 8 years in, I don't think anyone's deluded enough to think that things will suddenly improve, right? Oh, fuck. Well, I think it's a little more complicated than that. Unfortunately. Well, firstly, I don't think anyone can force the boy out. I mean, typically in these F1 teams, the drivers don't just get booted out by no one. This decision has to be made by the team principal. And can you imagine a scenario where the team principal of an F1 team gives the boot to an F1 driver whose father practically owns the team? Yeah, I don't think so. So at this point in Aston Martin, there is literally nobody on this entire fucking grid that could do something like that. Have the authority to say, you know, Lancey, I think you should fucking call it a day at this point. You did your damage, trust me, the sport will never forget your fucking name. It's time to pack up. Maybe Lawrence, but he would never force the kid out. Not after the immense amount of financial resources he's poured into his son's career. I think at this point, it is way more about him than Lance, to be honest. Knowing how much of an alpha type he is, he probably views it as his own venture. You know, taking his son all the way to the championship is like a personal project he's taken on. And the one thing this guy fucking hates is losing. And kicking out Lancey would most definitely be publicly viewed as losing. So that's not fucking happening, mate. So it's either Lance leaves on his own accord, or he just doesn't. And importantly, Lance has not had a very smooth ride in the sport. Let's just say that. As I said, he's by far the #1 hated on guy in all of F1. Probably in the history of the sport as a whole. Honestly, I think Stroll might have viewed 2021 as the best season he's had on the grid. Not because he performed well or anything, God no. But just because the grid was joined by Nikita Mazepin, and at least for a stint there, he was all of a sudden not the only one battered by excrement thrown by the F1 community. For a short stint, but a stint nonetheless. And so now, having endured all of that truly horrifying hate and pressure, standing up and deciding to leave the sport, at least I would view that, at least in some way, giving up and succumbing to all the hatred. Like basically proving everyone and everything that's been said about him is right. But, you know what, to be honest, it really takes a certain zero fucks given type of personality to persevere all the human shit being thrown at you for 8 years that he probably wouldn't even care about it. Honestly, if there's one really positive character trait I would give to the kid, it's the absolute don't give a fuck attitude he brings in public. It is partly why I fucking hate him as well, as it shows up as this overprivileged and disinterested piece of shit type of guy for the sport when doing media and stuff. But maybe it's just an over-exaggeration from his side to like manifest this impartial feeling to the public's opinion about him. And in that case, if that really is true and he's not just playing this on, I commend him. God, I wish I had just as little regard for what the public thought of me that I just wouldn't budge if 50 million people on this earth hated my guts. And all it cost him was a small $100 million investment in his racing career and 8 years of constant public humiliation. What a bargain. But either way, I think the point still stands, as even if Lance doesn't care about confirming to the public's opinion, Lawrence sure as fuck does. He probably does not consider it a fucking option that his son is perceived as a quitter. Not in this fucking lifetime. Okay, hear me out. I think actually the amount of times I've mentioned Lawrence in this clip compared to Lance, about whom the fucking video was about in the first place, really speaks to the dynamic between those two. A, for how fucking dominant of a personality Lawrence is, and B, how flaccid his son is. Honestly, he just feels like an empty vessel on the grid. A disabled kid who's been kind of wheeled into the sport like a parent signing up their kid for Make-A-Wish, hoping to score some season tickets for the bowl game. I think this outlines quite likely how Lancey ended up in the sport in the first place. He probably never really had it in him per se. I mean, he's a good driver, no doubt about that. He won so many races in his F3 season that anyone doubting him as a basic race car driver is totally nonsense. But he was never a mega talent, and it seems like he never wanted to be one either. I mean, it's starting to more and more look like the boy's just living out his father's childhood dreams, kind of just going along with it. Obviously, who wouldn't want to drive cars for a living? That's pretty much everyone's dream. But he never had to struggle, never had to really commit or take a stance on what he wants to do with his entire future, so that the commitment has just lacked from the start. And I think now that he's been in the sport for such a long time and his father's committed a good portion of his time and entire net worth to keep him there, he probably just can't back out, even if he wanted to. I'm actually saying this from the bottom of my heart. I obviously despise him as much as the next bloke, but I think Lancey is a little more complicated than just a talentless fool trying to pay to win instead of playing fair. I think there's fundamentally a complicated father-son relationship playing out here that we can only begin to imagine what it's like. I mean, as I mentioned, the father, Lawrence, is a lot to handle. He's an absolute alpha, constantly turned the on type of personality, trying to do everything, accomplish anything there is to accomplish in this world. I mean, we probably have no idea what it's like growing up alongside a personality like this your whole life. Or probably actually lacking a father in your day-to-day life to begin with as well. And only seeing him maybe on the weekend, and probably not in the most fatherly, relaxed setting at that. Not to mention how absolutely spoiled the kid must have been since he was born. I mean, constantly surrounded by comforts and never having to really push himself outside the racetrack. And even there, he always knew that daddy could spend a little more, pull a few more strings, and get me a better car for that next race if necessary. Okay. I don't know what happened to the narrative, but I've somehow grown soft for the kid. This is absurd. Okay, let me get myself back into the role. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, socks to sock. Can't feel bad for a kid who's been spoon-fed an F1 career and is too ignorant to acknowledge how unfit he is for the seat that he's been given. At the end of the day, he's a big boy now and should accept that enough's enough at some point. He's never going to be world champion, not unless Aston Martin become the next 2023 Red Bull after the regulation changes. Oh yeah, about that. So, for Lance to leave the sport for good, the circumstances that I went over earlier all must fall in line so that the moment is just right. So, Lance has to quit himself because, well, no one in Lance's entire world has any authority over him thanks to the protective wing of Daddy's Forbes rating. So the only possible way is if Lance does it on his own. That's pretty clear. Now, we also have, Lawrence to play with. As we mentioned before, he has a massive ego. He probably wouldn't let his boy leave, so it opens to the public perspective that his whole venture failed. Now, in order to achieve that, there has to be circumstance where when Lance steps out the car, the performance of the car itself either drops significantly or improves all of a sudden. So that to highlight that it wasn't a driver issue. Okay, let me try to dumb this down. The car has to either get really shit, or since the team is already down in the gutter fighting amongst the rats in the bottom of the food chain like Haas, Alpine, and Red Bull nowadays apparently, the car needs to noticeably improve the moment he steps out of it, so that no one can fault Lancey Boy for the horrific results the legendary car brand has suffered in the past few years. I honestly don't want to know how much Aston has lost just in brand perception alone compared to what they could have been if they had a proper driver instead of Lancey accompanying the old man. Maybe, they'd not generate a loss of £300 million in 2024. Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck. That's a lot of money. I don't think this would help much with that, but at the very least I can say that it probably doesn't help with sports car sales if your brand is sucking ass in the most important and expensive motorsport on earth. Just a thought. Actually, these circumstances just so happen to come together in 2026 as the regulation changes kick in and Adrian Newey's designs should finally pay dividends and benefit Aston Martin's pace significantly. So it seems like happy days, doesn't it? This might actually happen. From 2026, Lancey might just leave. Well, of course, if you were a spoiled billionaire's son eating shit on the field and from the media for 8 years straight, would you retire from the sport right before the car might become a championship contender for the first time in the team's history? Probably not. So, there goes my whole theory behind this video out the window. So just get comfortable, kids, and begin enjoying seeing Lance's charming mug for the next 10 years or so still. I guess as long as Daddy has still some liquidity to play with, Lancey's got an F1 car to play with. If he still really wants to, that is. But he still wants to, right? I don't fucking know anymore. I think you got my main point. I don't even know what it is anymore. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.